Hey guys, welcome back to the Paladins Alliance. I want to thank you for all the EPL group support that you've given me in these recent weeks, and I want to finish off a little bit of that preview content with EPL Group D and Entropic for today. So EPL Group C had a lot of established organizations that provided some great results at Cologne and other online events prior to that, but EPL Group D has a little bit more of a different feeling to it. You have teams like Liquid and NIP who haven't necessarily put up good results in recent memory, and so they're on the fringes of that second and third spot. Obviously, Gambit at that number one spot will pretty much guarantee that number one spot there in that group. And then you have teams like Team One, Entropic, and Furia, who also are looking for that second and third spot, and so that we have a lot of disparity between the skill in that regard. And I want to take a look at Entropic, who has that chance to qualify for the playoffs here, with how consistent they've been thanks to their AWP'er El1an. Now, El1an is what I consider to be one of Russia's next up and coming AWP'ers. If you see here in these last 6 months, he's had an outstanding rating. A lot of the CT sides and T sides are revolve around El1an and his ability to find kills, and you'll see that throughout the demos on the CT side, especially. They've created such a system where it's very similar to Navi's type of playstyle, where you have very static bomb sites and a little bit of aggression from some of their players, and then you have El1an as a go-to in between the two bomb sites, searching for those kills, hunting for those kills, and you'll see that in the demos as we move on to that section as well. On the T side, El1an loves to shoot one side. So for example, he loves to go out and take the A long pick and then run all the way through spawn and fight in tunnels and get a pick and snowball the round out for Entropic that way. So he's malleable in that sense, but he can also show shades of players like James, who will tend to play a little bit more passive, play a little bit for himself in that sense, a little bit more selfish, get those 1 or 2 kills that are important, hit those good flicks, and then immediately after pivot to playing a little bit more passive until he has his team, and if things go awry, he can obviously evacuate the bomb site. So a lot of different facets to El1an here. A couple little things that I want to show you before we move on to the demos. As far as the individual statistics go, if you see his opening kill-death ratio, it's very fantastic. That's something that I want to highlight. We always talk about this, but it's super important to realize that he's getting these opening kills and he's not dying. So he's getting those 5v4s, and he's making sure that the team has to play out that 5v4, not necessarily playing greedy for the 2v0. He's playing more for the 1v0 without getting that risk of going down 2 for 1, right? So this stat is very good. Obviously, in the weapon category, you see that he's very reliant on the AWP, but we have noticed that comparatively to the AK-47 and his scout kills, they're pretty similar, right? So the reason as to why this is he's a very good scout player, and he relies a lot on those low econ buys or those force buys on the CT side, where he's able to open up the bomb sites, or not open up the bomb site, open up the account for the CT side to get stuck into those force buys, and really enable some assists going for the pistols that the Entropic team buys around. And so that's why this stat is much higher. It's something to note. I have a round picked out for that as well. And then lastly, his AK-47 skills are admirable. That's something to look out for. His rifling is not half bad. But again, he does rely on the AWP a lot, and that's where he gets the majority of his kills from. As far as the clutches go, he can clutch pretty reliably in the 1v1s. Obviously, a +3 differential, a little bit more than 50%. So that's good to see. 1v2s, 1v3s, he's able to rack those up as well. So a little bit of some good stats in the clutch as well, which is important for an AWP'er. Not necessarily to sit back and save in those clutch scenarios, but to take advantage and see what you can do when you have that green gun in your hands. So let's jump into the demos, and I have a couple rounds picked out, not too many, and you'll see basically a lot of the things that I'm talking about here contextualized. So Entropic is a team that has been grinding for quite a long time. In the month of June alone, they racked up over more than 60 maps played in just a month. And obviously this month they haven't played as much, maybe saving some energy for EPL itself because it is their biggest tournament yet. But nonetheless, they have a lot of simple strategies drilled to complete perfection. And these simple strategies have little folds in them, and they're all created mostly through El1an's aggression and how he searches for picks here. So the first round he has against VP here with the AWP on CT side, he decides to go a little bit more aggressive, but not in the most traditional sense. So he goes for that standard mid peek, but instead of actually peeking down mid, he'll just toss a nade because he knows usually he'll get flashed off the angle just to get some chip damage. So he stays around, sees if he can get any early fountain peeks from like maybe Yekindar, but he thinks better of it after he sees that smoke coming in for bathrooms, and he plays a little bit more passively just to watch the boost. So once he does this, he just sticks around for a little while because he knows he has connector presence from the CTs, so he doesn't have to worry about that side. He can be a little bit more aggressive here. And so, meanwhile, on the other side of the map, Krad has gotten a pick, and at this point in time, he has a decision to make. So he can aggress forward, potentially give up the 4v4, or he can play passively. So VP would likely think that El1an would play more passively because that's what CTs love to do on overpass. They'll probably drop a smoke divider here, or they drop a smoke bathrooms here, and they just play for the Ts to come in. And after all, VP is a more passive team. But here's where El1an decides to throw a little bit of a wrinkle into the round. So he notices that there's nobody, and what he decides to do is he's going to smoke behind himself, especially after a long smoke is deployed by VP. And at this point, this is sending every message to VP that, okay, well, El1an cannot be in bathrooms, aggressive in bathrooms. He has to be passive. And they are completely caught with their pants down here. So El1an decides to aggress up. He catches Yekindar out here. He aggresses even forward. The comms aren't that great, and he catches James as well. And now, this essentially just locks down the round with that one little smoke play that he puts behind him. And at this point, he has free reign in bathrooms. Buster tries to make a play. He punishes that. And soon enough, he lands the leg on Kickert as well. And Entropic basically win a round single-handedly off of El1an's little play there. So you see that little facet of aggressiveness that he has there. It's really important to take note of because it is something that he doesn't pull out very often, but when he does, it's very effective. So I talked about El1an's rifling as well, and you'll see here how he first gets the opening kill with the rifle, and then takes advantage to take space on the T side as well. So in a lot of these situations that Entropic has, El1an when the going gets tough, El1an likes to take matters into his own hands and try to search for the man advantage and take over rounds on his own. So he grabs up a rifle and decides to flash himself in here. And even though Hades tries to flash himself in, El1an takes advantage of that with a great opening kill there. And while this is happening, ENCE is, as you can see there on the corner of the screen, ENCE is trying to play aggressive in apps. So a little bit of luck involved in here, but El1an decides to be proactive and immediately smoke off lane and the porch side of the A-bomb site. And while he does this, he knows he has a free AWP to pick up, and he rushes to that and takes all the space in arch side. So you'll see here, Diha gets 2 kills on the arch side, on the lane side, and now El1an has all this free real estate because he realizes that this is the smartest play to do that he can possibly do at this point, right? Like, he has to take more map control because there are not enough bodies for them to take control. Meanwhile, Entropic is keeping them busy on the B site, and El1an has so much space on the A side that now ENCE is going to get caught out. They have no idea. They've kind of lost where El1an has gone, and Diha gets punished. And at this point, El1an says, okay, well, we know there's only one left on the A bomb site, and I have all of CT control. Let's just go back to A. And so he keeps those flash to keep Dodo at bay, and he keeps waiting. He keeps waiting to see if there's any CT rotations, but he gets nothing. And as soon as Dodo's position is known, he throws his nade, and that's the kill that secures the round. Because at this point, you have a 2v2, extremely T-favored situation, and he can just play very safe. He can play in the pit, and Krad can play for contact. He gets that smoke off, Krad plays the corner box, and he gets both of the kills as well. So a lot of this round comes down to how El1an decides to play in that situation. So he can play more timid. He can get caught in that app setup. He can take way too much time to walk up mid and get punished once they reorient and the CTs reorient onto a porch. But he takes advantage of how much space he's being given once Hades falls, and he takes all of that arch, He punishes that porch reorientation. He gets the kill on Dodo and secures that round for Entropic there. So Entropic here on a low round buy, and I've showcased a lot more of the aggressive side or aggressive facets of El1an's playstyle, but I want to show you something that reminded me a lot more of someone like Jame on VP. And you'll see here, he's playing very passive in the sense that he's behind all of his teammates. He's willing to play for the trades rather than for looking for the kills in this situation. And Krad gets a kill there on the short shelf. And now, El1an plays a little bit of that more floater position where he can bounce between mid. He can bounce back into the A side and watch ramp. And while all of this is happening, the ramp setup that Entropic gets set up there gets found out by Duplicate. And now El1an is left on an island. You see here, Forrester's playing CT, Nickelback is the B anchor. And now it's all up to El1an to see if he can either get a man advantage or keep the thing even keel before they play the 3v3. So watch what he does here. So he plays a little bit passively, just watching for that short shelf angle, or and then he gets a great shot on Denislaw there. And at this point, he can play a little bit more passively, but he wants to get just that one more hit off before he plays for the retake. And luckily, Duplicate gives it to him. Molly forces him off, but he's taken all the real estate that he possibly needs. At this point, he can play the 3v1. Obviously, Rainwaker kills off the low HP Forrester, and now they have to play a 2v1 together. And so he waits for Nickelback. He can wait for all this time, and he can wait for the plant as well, and shoot as much as he wants. They know where he is, so it doesn't matter at this point. So at this point, Nickelback gets that dink. It's calmed over, and El1an knows that Rainwaker has to play aggressive. He's on the low HP. He wants to get that peeker's advantage, and El1an just waits and waits, and very patiently he spots the head and punishes Rainwaker and gets that kill for and a round for Entropic. So you see there, he's willing to play for the team, and technically a little bit more selfishly, in the sense that he plays a little bit more safely in a much more set strategy from the CTs by Entropic. Even though the CTs there are trying to go in, El1an is willing to play a little bit more further back and play for that more retake heavy scenario that the A side of Vertigo tends to have a lot of the times. So I think one of Entropic's most unique characteristics is how they love to play pistol rounds. So on the T side, El1an loves to be the raid boss of the situation, where a team will usually drop him a P250. He'll play with armor and search for those opening picks. That has middling success, but something that I've noticed on the Dust 2 is on the CT side, he always loves to take the mid peak and get that instant information. And usually, he's not getting punished for it necessarily because the USPs have more range, and he can't necessarily get punished for it unless the T's buy P250s around him, around their team. So you watch here, he goes for that initial mid peak, and he gets his spot a little bit, and at that point, right, once that T falls off the angle, he realizes that this is one facet that he decides to change up that usual mid peak. So usually he falls back from that position, but in this case, he set up a trap with Krad in Catwalk here, and he's going to aggress down into this box here and play for Krad's contact, and then have this two-man setup to really break the offense straight away with some aggression. So El1an decides to hide here in the box. Krad takes a little bit of contact with that headshot angle, and the T's decide to just play into El1an. They don't clear their angles, and El1an and Krad double up here. And once that nade goes in, he knows it's a meaty one, so he can aggress down along with that flash, and he'll basically mop up at this point. Gets a kill on Denislaw, trips as well, and at that point he can just play to death, right? Even if he dies to Rainwaker, it's a 3v1 situation, and that mid peak has just sweltered into a 3v1 situation, and it's all thanks to El1an and Krad's setup that they had there on the CT pistol. With NIP and Liquid on the downturn, Entropic and El1an definitely have a chance to make a statement here at EPL Season 14, especially with also teams like Furia and Team 1, who are also in kind of like a disarray at this point in time. But the importance of Entropic's success will largely come from El1an. If he can play well, the team will obviously follow suit. the importance that you have to watch out here is that he's always good for 1 or 2 kills. If he's not able to put up those numbers with that AWP, things will spiral out of control for Entropic, and we'll have to see some other players try to step up to the plate. But I'm excited to see how El1an performs here. This is one of his biggest opportunities yet. We'll see how they do here at EPL, and I hope the best for them. So if you liked all this EPL group content, again, subscribe. I'm going to try to do this for a lot of different events and cover different players. This one to watch series is something that I've enjoyed to do, to watch a little bit lesser tiered teams or players for that matter. So definitely subscribe and stick around if you want to see more stuff like this. If not, then drop a like, comment this to see, and tell me what you want to see later on, because I'd love to do that for you guys. So again, thank you so much for your support, and I will catch you guys next week for another video. Peace.